Okay, it's the next day. I'm in the garage, and today is the day of live ammo. I've got the Blasphemy build behind me. We're going to work on this section right here. This is going to be what I'm going to try to lead today. Let me bring you a little closer to what we're dealing with. Right now, I've got some rust converter doing its thing for like 10 minutes. Then I'm going to rinse it off with water, blow it out with my super fast Ryobi air blower, and then try to weld it a little bit, and then try to get this lead on. But let me show you what I'm working with. So this is a section I cleaned up a couple of weeks ago. If you guys remember, this had the really big scar from where I installed this quarter panel to the roof. And I smoothed it and welded it and grinded it and smoothed it and welded it and grinded it. Now it looks really good. You can see there's still kind of a divot that goes through the center, and that's what we're gonna try to lead today. The bigger concern though is that this section had a bunch of rust in it, and I've just pulled the rust out, and I kind of hit it with a really thin drill bit. I used this little thin drill bit, and I kind of got in there and really wrunged it around a little bit. Wrunged, I just made that word up. And I put some rust converter on there, so I'm waiting for it to do its thing. I'm gonna rinse it with water, blow it out. Then I'm gonna use my trusty Lincoln Electric welder that I got from Craigslist and see if I can fill in some of this stuff. This is pretty much all lead as far as I remember. Like, this whole interface is something that the factory would have leaded. And then I'm not worried at all about this, so I'll really try to get this stuff in there. So a perfect scenario is that I get this middle section, and then I get all of this all at least leaded so that I can start shaping it. It's a little tough to see, but this thing actually has to curve this way a little bit. And I don't have the profiler thing from my that car. But ideally, I'm able to figure out what the exact profile is and make this thing super smooth. It's a little bit wavy, but not too bad. Not too bad for a complete and utter rookie. So let's see. Let's get this thing dry and get some weld on here. So this is a better view so that you can see a little bit of that little channel, that little divot, and that's what we're gonna try to make as smooth as possible today. Next on this episode of Will It Weld, I gotta clean my tip. Because everybody wants a clean tip. Alright, this looks pretty good. Next on this episode of Will It Weld. Oh, turn the gas on, everybody. Man, does that not want to weld? What is it? Why? Fuck. That sucks. It's not exactly award-winning. But it might work. All right. And some sound. I'm like the king of setting random crap on fire. What's that smell? Oh, it's the towel that's in the engine compartment that a spark hit, and then it just had this controlled burn. God. Son of a... You get a welding helmet on, you don't notice the rest of the stuff around you. All right, let me grind this thing down. All right, we are much more cleaned up now. Again, hard to get this angle, but this is pretty sealed up. Time for the tinning process. I'm going to get this whole section basically all the way from there to there and tin all of that. I'm gonna warm this panel up a little bit. So this is gonna spread better now. Yeah, instantly this spreads better. We're starting to get a little bit of separation. Just heating this panel up made some stuff kind of pull away, which is interesting. I've never experienced it before. But I have like a weld divot right there that pulled away. And now this little seam has more divots than it did before. So hopefully that's okay, and I don't have an issue with it. It's only metal, right? That's what they say. It's only metal. This is supposed to be really bright chrome when you wipe it off. You're supposed to heat it until it kind of turns brown, and then you wipe it off, and the metal is tinned, which means it's completely clean and ready for the lead. So obviously this is a lot harder on a vertical surface because you can heat it and you can see the stuff starting to run down. So I'm trying to aim for the top part, and right now I'm just trying to get it to get on the metal. So it's this delicate balance between melting and like sticking on there. You can kind of tell when it's about to go. So again, this is kind of like managing your heat to keep it like butter, like soft butter, but not let it fully run down. All right, so here's where I am after my first time leading. It definitely looks like my first time. It definitely looks like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna cool this panel down and then hit it with the file and knock some of the big stuff off and see where else I need to fill in lead. All right, I'm gonna start this with this round file. This one seems to take off material a lot faster. I'm sure I'm gonna have to do more lead on this, but let me cool this panel down. So I think this first pass looks really good. This area is so thin in terms of how much like Bondo type filler it will need that I'm thinking I might just put a skim coat and call it. But let me do a little research overnight and find out. This thing just feels really smooth and good to me. And remember, you can still hammer work this thing. So you can still metal work. That's really the beauty of this. It feels like it's solid. It feels like it's pretty repaired. There's one little hole here that I don't love, and I don't love some of this edging transition. But is it worth sort of reheating and melting all of this work I've just done? I don't know. And I kind of feel like no, it's not. Okay, I'm back. So it's a couple days later. I've done a bunch of research. I've actually also, a couple nights ago, layered on another layer of lead, which right now looks like a bunch of smushed goose poop. And I have picked up 2 contour gauges from Harbor Freight, which I've attached together. If you don't know, you can do that. So this gauge allows you to put it on the car, and it'll show you the exact contour of what you're trying to do. So what I'm going to do is use this on the other side of my other 69 911 that's done, and I'll show you guys like what the gap looks like. And I'm going to give this, I think, one more layer of lead filler in this spot. I'll show you guys with the handheld right now. So what I've got here is the other car. I've got the contour gauge, and this is the section I'm pretty concerned about. So I'm going to just push this gauge. You see this here? I'm going to push this gauge down, and it contours to the body. So now I have this nice curve, which is the factory curve. And what I've done is basically on my flares, I cut from here to here. So to show you guys again, I'll flatten this thing out on the ground. So it's totally flat now. And my seam is right there. So I want to just take this gauge and put it right over the top of the seam like this. And go, all right, well, there's my contour. So now I shoot on over to this car. And I go, all right, so I did it about here. And if we get under, you can see there's about 1/8 of an inch gap right there. So that's the thing I need to work on, is this little gap. So what I'm going to do is going to put one more layer of lead in this area. I've also rediscovered that this was a little hole. I'm going to have to plop a little bit of weld in there. But right here, I'm going to put a little more lead. I've layered some lead on right now and did a really rough grind. But I'm going to warm the whole panel up again. Lay one more layer of smushy lead, probably like up top here, and then blend it down into this section. Then I think I'm going to call it. Done a little bit more work on this, and this feels great. What I want to do is fill in this spot here a little bit and then smooth out these little edges. So I'm going to try one more time to heat, put a little lead in, and then just do a quick little swipe. This isn't quite as smooth as I would like it to be. Like, you know, it looks very chunky. The lead is very chunky in here versus having this like really smooth transition like it does up here. So I'm going to try a little bit more to spread this and get it smooth. But overall, I'm really happy. The profile from here looks great. It looks way better than it did at the beginning. So now it's just a matter of getting it like really dialed. I don't want to make this all Bondo, so I want to really make this thing smooth out with lead. So I'm going to fill in right here and right here and right here. All right, so I am way happier with how much smoother this lead is pre-grinding. So I'm going to grind it right now, and then I'm finally going to be done. Okay there, dudes. I am feeling really good about this. If y'all see it, I think it looks really good. Again, kind of smoother than it looks on here. It looks pretty good to me. And that's after a lot of grinding and shaping. The line looks really good. Well, that was really cool, and I feel like I learned a lot of things being a complete and utter newbie to lead bodywork. Number one, and probably the most important, is that you can go over your work multiple times. Obviously, you don't want to overheat it so the lead doesn't run off and you have to start all over again, but you can layer and look at some spots and be careful about it and then fill in where you need to. You can also re-tin. I didn't need to do that this time, but I was looking at some videos on YouTube, and if there's a spot where it's bare, you can re-tin and then lead there and it's totally fine. At this point, I will wipe it down with some sort of baking soda water combo and be done with it. Another thing I learned is that it takes a while. I'm not very fast at it yet. So lead filling for me is, that was like a couple of hour endeavor. I hope that this side of the car will go quicker because of my newfound knowledge. I don't have like a system yet. I don't have it dialed, but hopefully I will as I go further along. And I think these are the hardest pieces of this car because it's all vertical. Even the drip rails are a little more horizontal than these sections. So it's definitely hard to work when it's completely vertical. But hey, why not start with the hardest stuff ever? If you guys have any tips or tricks, because you are a lead filler expert, I would love to hear them in the comments. And otherwise, thank you so much. As always, if you could just throw a high five and a like and a comment down, even if it's just like an emoji, it totally helps the algorithm. I hope you dug this video. I'll talk to you next time.